So this video is going to be a little different than my other videos. I started to write a normal review like I've done before, but as I was writing I noticed the script taking a more video essay type of format instead of a standard review. So that's how I'm going to be presenting this video this time round. Anyway, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness has now hit theatres, and I've seen very mixed opinions of the film online. From some people loving it, some people really not liking it, and some in the middle just thinking it was kind of okay. And unfortunately I'm in the camp that was the middle. My expectations were pretty high, and for me it didn't really deliver on those expectations. Not so much in an underwhelming way, but in a sense that what I expected from the film was something very different to what we actually got. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about the lack of crazy cameos, as that wasn't something that I wanted anyway. Regardless, it's not as if I hated the movie. There were a lot that I enjoyed, and I don't want to take anything away from the positives, but for every one thing that I liked, there was another that I either didn't like or wish would have been different. So before getting into anything, I'm going to be diving into spoiler territory for this review. I think a lot of what I have to say about the movie is difficult to get across without going into the finer details, so that is your spoiler warning for this video if you haven't seen the film and don't want to know anything about it going in. Okay, so I thought I'd just give my thoughts on what I liked first and then go into what I didn't like so much, and starting with the good, I'll say that the style and direction of the movie was fantastic. One worry of mine going into the film was that they hired Sam Raimi as director to build a hype around the film but not actually give him much freedom in the creation, but thankfully that didn't happen. This film is Raimi through and through, from the camera work, the editing, some of the dialogue, and even his over-the-top style of horror, mostly akin to his Evil Dead movies, and I really liked that. It wasn't immensely scary, but there were definitely a lot of creepy moments of tension and the most violent imagery that we've seen in any of these movies, and I had a really great time with it, especially in the second act where Wanda just straight up annihilates the members of the Illuminati. I was really glad to see that Raimi was given a lot of freedom to just do his thing and go crazy with the concept, resulting in one of the most stylistically unique films in this franchise. Another aspect I thoroughly enjoyed were the performances. Benedict Cumberbatch and Elizabeth Olsen in the lead roles were both absolutely fantastic here, and you can see how much these two actors really care about these characters and how much fun they had portraying them, and alternate versions of themselves too. Elizabeth Olsen in particular going full Scarlet Witch in this film was one of the biggest highlights. She was absolutely ruthless and really quite frightening in places. Xochitl Gomez as America Chavez was also pretty good. I thought she gave a really decent performance and had a very solid chemistry with the rest of the cast. Wong was also great, obviously. Benedict Wong seems to be popping up more and more here and there as this character outside the Strange films, and I'm definitely all for it. And I like that he's the Sorcerer Supreme now, leaving Strange with a less formal responsibility at the Sanctum. But as I said, the stars of the show here were Cumberbatch and Olsen. Both of them were absolutely amazing in what they were doing and were again one of the best aspects of this film. Now, the performances and everything visually that Sam Raimi did with this film, I loved, but the story and the script is where I find this movie so incredibly frustrating and where it falls apart for me. Firstly, and probably my biggest complaint, and it's probably a personal thing, I don't know, but this wasn't the story that I wanted, and even going off of the trailers and marketing, it's not the story that was sold to us, so I don't think that's a fault on my end for expecting something different. What was pitched to us, and what I expected, was that Stephen would be facing the unpredictable consequences of the spell he cast in Spider-Man No Way Home, enlisting Wanda, Wong, and a multiversal traveler in America Chavez to help fix his mistakes, as well as finally having a continuation of the conflict with Mordo that was teased 6 years ago. But instead, we go straight to Wanda being evil, which felt like a little bit of a stretch from where WandaVision left off. I also feel like the Darkhold was used as a bit of a lazy excuse as to why Wanda is evil now. In Civil War, she allows herself to be confined to the Avengers compound due to her guilt over what happened in Lagos, but here she's butchering hundreds of people just because she can, and the Darkhold feels like a lazy excuse to have her do that, especially seeing as we didn't actually see her descent into being consumed by the book's evil influence. In terms of Stephen, nothing really set up in his first film was expanded upon here. There were seeds planted of themes and lessons for sure, but they never had the proper opportunity to be as fleshed out as they could have been. The theme of his debut movie was "It's not about you," to let go of his ego and selfishness to help people, and in this one it felt like what they were going for was the lesson of letting go of trying to control everything. Christine Palmer says to him at the start that their relationship never could have worked because of Stephen's need to always hold the knife. Coupled with this, we also saw a lot of characters asking Stephen if he's happy, and tying those two ideas to the multiverse feels like the message here is that there are infinite possibilities your life can take you, and that you can't always control certain things in your life. but finding happiness in the choices you make and taking the good things with the bad things is important, while also exploring the idea of what people are prepared to do to find their ideal happiness and whether it's worth sacrificing that for a greater good. Which is a good narrative and fitting for the premise of a multiverse, but I feel like it wasn't developed nearly as much as it could have been for Strange as the protagonist, and therefore when these ideas came up it felt quite forced and hand-fisted. Something else interesting that was brought up was how Strange was solely responsible for letting the snap happen, causing 5 years of pain and confusion for billions of people and claiming it was the only way. But could there have been another way out had he loosened the reins of control and not been so sure that he was right? Maybe even a more selfless route, which meant he died for the greater good instead of having that fate befall Tony Stark. Who knows? But that's also a concept that's only ever mentioned once at the wedding scene and once when Wanda confronts him at Kamar-Taj, both in the first act of the movie. It feels like there should have been another film between this and his debut where we get to see Strange and Wanda work together to try and stop a personal threat to Stephen. Mordo was perfect for this. While at the same time Wanda is still struggling with not only her grief, but also the added guilt of having enslaved a town full of people's minds at Westview, and I'd like to see Wanda become more and more frustrated with Stephen's hypocrisy, mirroring the dynamic between Mordo's growing mistrust and resentment of the Ancient One, setting up a moral conflict between Strange and Wanda, leading Wanda to lose herself more and more to the corruptible power of the Darkhold, and that can be where this movie begins. And just to reinforce my feeling that there should have been another movie here, in the Court of the Illuminati, Stephen outright says to this Mordo variant that in his universe he tried to kill him multiple times. When? Because I don't remember seeing that. Is that what we're doing now? Just completely skipping over these personal conflicts? Also, another little nitpick I have to get off my chest. As fun as it was to see the Illuminati and characters like Reed Richards and Charles Xavier, I'm really starting to hate these forced callbacks to previous movies, like when Xavier directly quotes his line from X-Men Days of Future Past.
Just because someone stumbles, loses their way, it doesn't mean they're lost forever.
And I physically rolled my eyes when Captain Carter said I can do this all day. It just felt so cheap. I think Hayley Atwell was good in the role, but that part was really cringy for me. One other small problem I have was the resolution to this story. Firstly, Wanda's redemption at the end I thought was really predictable and something that I thought was not only already done, but done better in Into the Spider-Verse with Kingpin. And the next being something that poses a potential problem for the future of these films, and that's Wanda's supposed death. There are two potential outcomes here. First of which is that if she truly did die on that mountain, that was a very unsatisfying exit for a great character. Secondly, if she didn't die and is very much still alive, having seen the full extent of her powers in this movie makes me feel like any future threat can be easily taken out by Wanda, which doesn't leave much in the way of stakes. How are we supposed to feel the threat of another Thanos-level being again when Wanda can do the things that she can do? Which in itself ties into my major problem with the current MCU as a whole. As much as I liked Shang-Chi and loved Spider-Man No Way Home, this franchise should have ended with Endgame, because call me a skeptic, but I really don't think they'll ever reach those heights of tension and emotional payoff ever again.
You can't really step it up from there.
Most of the post-Endgame material hasn't been amazing, and I really am starting to feel the fatigue of this franchise. We'll see what happens in Thor Love and Thunder, but Spider-Man and Guardians aside, there's not much left in this franchise that I'm eager to see. So anyway, as a whole, I guess my main point here is that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was definitely fun and visually very striking, but that's it really. It's spectacle over story, and while I did have a great time watching it, I can't help feeling that there was a lot of missed potential here. And that sucks because as a fan of the character and the lore and having really liked the first movie, I was really looking forward to this one. I'll probably watch it again, but I think the best way to enjoy this movie is to look at it as another alternate universe to the mainline MCU, where we can take the motivations and character relationships at face value instead of tying it to what happened in Doctor Strange 1 and WandaVision.
Forget everything you think you know.
But that's it from me today. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this, or you'd like to go back to seeing my mug on the screen. And let me know what you thought of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now to leave you with my song of the day, and for today I think I'm going to choose Believe by Michael Romeo from his War of the Worlds Part 1 album, simply because I have finished writing my review for War of the Worlds Part 2, and that should be coming to YouTube very soon, so I'll leave a link to that song down in the description. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.